Okay, think about this for a second. In the time it takes you to snap your fingers, over 200 million emails are sent, thousands of Amazon packages are ordered, and nearly 4 million searches are typed into Google every single minute. We're all creating this massive, invisible trail of information. So let's dive in and see what that trail really says about us. Just let that number sink in. 4 million. 4 million Google searches. That's like the entire population of a major city, asking the internet its most private questions, its random thoughts, its deepest fears, every 60 seconds. The scale is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around.
And get this, that's just Google. We're not even talking about the data trails left by our phones pinging cell towers, or our credit card swipes, or the browsers that track our every click. Every single digital interaction we have, whether we think about it or not, adds another drop to this massive ocean of data.
But see, this isn't some abstract thing happening out there in the cloud. It's incredibly personal. So let's bring this down to earth and ask the real question. What does all of this data actually say about you?
So, that brings us to our first big idea, your digital shadow. It's the footprint you leave behind online, and as we're about to see, it's way more detailed and permanent than most of us ever imagine.
Let me ask you something. Can you remember, with perfect accuracy, exactly what you were doing and where you were 1 year ago today? I mean, down to the minute. It's tough, right? Our memories are, well, they're fuzzy. They're human. Our digital records, they are not.
This isn't some hypothetical. This is a real person's actual Google location history for one single day. At 8:40 in the morning, she arrived at work. By 11:10, she was driving to her parents' town, had lunch, drove home at 4:10. Her reaction when she saw this data laid out? Just 2 words. I didn't like this. And you can see why. It's a pretty startling moment when you see your own life mapped out with such cold digital precision.
Okay, so we've established that a frankly shocking amount of our personal data is being recorded. So the next logical question is, why? And that brings us to the core business model of the internet today. You are the product.
We tend to think of these huge tech companies based on the service they give us. Google helps us find things, Amazon helps us buy things. Simple enough. But that's not their actual business. Google isn't really a search company, it's a gigantic advertising engine that sells access to our curiosities. And Amazon doesn't just make money selling stuff, it makes a fortune studying our consumption habits on a scale that's never been seen before.
And this all boils down to one of the fundamental truths of the modern internet. If a digital service is free, it's because you aren't the customer. Your data, your attention, your patterns, that's the product being sold. And the real customers are the advertisers who want to influence what you do next.
Now, it would be really easy to just paint this whole picture as, doom and gloom. But that's not the full story. This technology is a tool. And like any powerful tool, it's a double-edged sword. So let's look at how these algorithms are shaping our world, for better and for worse.
So on the one hand, you have some pretty serious negative consequences. I mean, imagine being denied a mortgage, not because of your income or your credit score, but because some algorithm scraped your social media data and decided you were a financial risk. This isn't science fiction. It's a real-world possibility that can completely upend someone's life. But then you see the other side of the coin, which shows the incredible potential for good. In one hospital, there's an AI system that looks at 200 chest x-rays every single day. Its only job is to flag the 20 that are most likely to have lung cancer, so a doctor can review them immediately. It's not replacing the doctor, it's supercharging their ability to save lives.
And the power of these algorithms to know us is just mind-boggling. Research has shown that if you give an algorithm just 10 of your Facebook likes, it can predict your personality better than a work colleague. Give it 70 likes, and it knows you better than a friend. And with 300 likes, it can apparently know you better than your own husband or wife.
So these incredibly powerful tools are analyzing our data, but it's not just the big companies you've heard of that have it. This brings us to the murky, invisible marketplace for your information, a world run by data brokers and built on something called dark profiles.
So you might be wondering, what's all this personal data actually worth on the open market? Well, one researcher decided to find out. For just 136 euros, she bought a massive dataset of personal profiles. And what exactly did that 136 euros buy her? The profiles of 1 million people from a dating site. And this wasn't just anonymous stuff.
It included usernames, email addresses, birthdays, sexual orientation, really detailed personality descriptions, height, weight, even personal habits like whether they smoke or use drugs. A complete, deeply personal dossier on 1 million people for the price of a nice dinner.
And you might be sitting there thinking, well, I'm careful online. I don't use those kinds of sites, so I'm safe. But it's not that simple. Companies create what they call dark profiles or shadow profiles of people who aren't even on their platforms. They pull information about you from your friends' contact lists or photos you're tagged in, and they build a file on you without you ever knowing or consenting. In this system, you can't just opt out.
Look, this can all sound pretty grim, I get it. But the point here isn't to despair, it's to understand. Because it's only when we understand the system that we can start to make conscious choices about the kind of digital future we actually want to build. The conversation has to move from if we use data to how we use it. And the starting point, the absolute foundational principle for that future, has to be this. The data is ours. It belongs to us, the people who create it every single day. It's our property. And that simple idea completely shifts the power dynamic. We stop being the product and we start being the owners.
So what does that path forward actually look like? Well, first, we all have to acknowledge that our data has incredible value. From there, we have to demand total transparency in how it's collected and what it's used for. That leads to supporting a system of data governance that's democratic, that can be audited, and that ensures this amazing resource is used for the common good, not just for corporate profit or control.
Because at the end of the day, the real debate isn't about using data versus not using data. I mean, that ship has sailed. The real urgent conversation we need to have is about how we build the systems and the rules to make sure this technology benefits all of society, not just a handful of powerful companies.
There's really no escaping it. The future, one way or another, is going to be built on a foundation of our collective data. The only question that really matters now is, what kind of future are we going to choose to build with it?